You're listening to the Savoir Faire Audio Experience.
Are you ready?
The Savoir Faire Experience is your guide to everything that has to do with lifestyle. From dating, rides, style, and entertainment. All brought to you by the editor of Savoir Faire magazine, Robert White. Anything goes on this audio experience. So, let's go.
It's still the best.
All right, guys, another episode of the Savoir Faire audio experience is here today. Can't talk. It was a long weekend in New York City with Fashion Week. But today we're doing episode 23, and this is an amazing artist that I've been doing a little research on in the last few days, and I'm excited to talk with him because yet again, another country music recording artist and songwriter from Nashville, and with a really strong name to boot. And so I'm excited to talk to John Paycheck today. How you doing, man?
You're doing great.
Good. Appreciate that. So, John, I want to kind of narrate our conversation a little bit today and do a little bit of a timeline because I feel like there's some things that we could definitely hit on about you. And then we'll end talking about, you know, your music career, your new album that's coming out, and the tour you're on right now.
Yeah.
I'm curious about this because not everybody gets to grow up with a legendary dad. And that's one of the cool things about your story that I kind of liked. Obviously, we all know who Johnny Paycheck is. He's a legendary country artist, but that was just dad to you. So can you talk to me a little bit about kind of growing up in your household and that relationship you had with your dad, you know, in your younger years before music kind of became part of you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it was basically, kind of what you said too. Your dad was dad, but as I've gotten older, you know, you realize like, oh yeah, that wasn't quite a normal household. I mean, we would have, you know, other entertainers over at the house, things like that, you know, a normal household may not have. But yeah, I mean, it was also chaotic too, right? Because dad was kind of wild. So yeah, we I don't know. It was a unique experience to say the least. But at the same time, I did have some normal things to it as well. You know, birthdays and you know family gatherings and all that kind of stuff. But
right.
Yeah. You know, I mean, you don't usually have you know, George Jones in your living room. In many other households. So, yeah, look, a little different.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was going to bring up. George Jones being in the dining room table and just hanging out with your dad and those guys talking shop while you're just kind of playing with Legos in the corner. Like, I could just kind of see this different kind of vibe. I mean, very traditional friendships and music kind of industry stuff, but like not everyone gets to grow up looking at that stuff and having an influence like that. So it's just kind of unique. I mean, do you have like a little childhood story that kind of stands out from, you know, an artist that came over, maybe even someone that kind of shocked you that dad knew this person, or just kind of when do you realize that like dad is dad, like dad is Johnny Paycheck?
Well, an interesting story that is somewhat, you know, embarrassing on my part was because my summer job was going out with dad on the road and, you know, learning the ropes, right? And I was a roadie. I worked my way up to guitar tech and then became a road manager and towards the end of it. And we were in Texas, and dad was wanting some food, normal thing, right, for the show and everything. So he sends me out, and he said, "Hey, go with this guy." And I was like, "All right, cool." And he looked like he was just a manager or someone working the event, right? And it was Texas. It was Willie's barbecue, 4th of July barbecue.
Okay.
And so I get the golf cart. We go off. These guys, you know, whizzing around off to the tent where we get the food and everything, and or the building. And you know, everybody's kind of, you know, paying him not respect, but you know, making sure that they get out of his way. Put it that way, and do what he says. And I'm like, oh, well, yeah, he's an event coordinator, I guess. Go through, get my food. They tells us, you know, give him whatever he wants. Got it. Get back to the golf cart. Head back and get on the bus. Say bye to him, give dad the food. And I was like, oh yeah, the guy was nice. Got us what we needed. All good. And he's kind of looking at me like, well, yeah. I was like, do you know who that was? I was like, well, no. I mean, just one of the guys working here, right? He's like, it's Willie Nelson. It's like, oh crap. Okay. I feel stupid now. Sorry, Mr. Nelson. But yeah.
Oh man, no, I love stuff like that. That's the kind of cool stuff that I like to hear about, like some of those little backstories. So, you know, a little brief one about mine. my mom was married to a clothing designer for a lot of old time country artists like your dad and a bunch of other people. He created leather work and whatever, right? So
Yeah.
I had a big stint in Nashville where I was a singer songwriter when I was a little bit younger. Met a ton of people, and one day they were like, "Hey, we're going to this like little family reunion. We're gonna be hanging out with some family because my father-in-law had some friends that lived in Nashville. That's why we actually moved there from New York, right? So we show up to this thing, and we're at this little gathering. Like, we're just hanging out in this field, like hanging out with some of his friends and whatever. I didn't really recognize anybody. And then this girl walked out from the house, and I was like, man, she looks familiar. Like, I've seen this person on TV before. I know this is somebody. And then I didn't really kind of like, it didn't click with me right away until 4 or 5 minutes later. But my father, I'll try to do the little family tree here. My father-in-law's best friend, who we called Uncle, his son was married to Peggy Lynn. Peggy Lynn.
Okay, yeah.
So Loretta Lynn and the twins is the house we were at.
Okay.
And I was like, what? Wait a second. Like that's the coolest one. That's my coolest story from Nashville, is like meeting them and like hanging out with them and then realizing there was a small family twist of a connection there, which is kind of cool. So nothing like what you went through, man, but like I was still kind of like in awe.
Yeah, certainly. No, actually, you just kind of triggered one here for me. I remember when I was young, and it was when Dad first got out. He had to go away to prison. He messed up, but when he first got out, there was a big press conference and a party and everything for him, kind of mending his ways and getting on the right track. And Waylon was there, and there was a lot of entertainers there, but Waylon was there, and I remember Shooter was there too.
Oh wow!
I believe, and we were at George's house for it, and I remember they were looking for the press conference for the interview was about to start and everything, and they were looking for Waylon, and he was playing with all of us, the kids. So that was one thing I remember just really cool about him, is that he was a very good father type, right? And he loved kids and everything. And they're looking for him to do business, and he'd rather be playing with the kids. And I love that about him.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, those are fun memories, man. I'm sure.
That's like one of the first times also hanging out with Shooter, really. And
wow.
we're good friends. So yeah, but anyway.
Yeah, no, we could probably talk all day about some Nashville legends and stories that we both had. I mean, I was in the scene for a long time when I was younger, so it's very cool. And that's one of the reasons why I use my platform to talk to guys like you that are musical artists from that world, because it just gives me a little taste of home. Nashville, I still consider Nashville my home, even though I live in New York now. So it's a big thing. So one of the things that I wanted to kind of talk to you about, and I was reading the bio on your website, and it said that, and it just happens to be today's 9/11, right? So 9/11 happened in 2003, and you joined the Army. You were an aviator, right?
Right. Yep.
So talk to me about how today's events 23 years ago kind of inspired you to join the Army and that piece of your world.
Yep. In 2001, I was sitting out here in Denver when it all went down, and I had wanted to join the military, but I kind of pushed away from it. The family didn't really want me to do it and everything, and then it changed everything for me, right? It changed everything for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I started out, actually went into the fire service to kind of see how that was, and I really liked that, but I still had the calling to go into the armed forces, and I just felt a need that, I can do something to help. I know I could be good at something that will help further what we were trying to accomplish, right? And real quick, I want to apologize. I'm outside, and I know there's a crow here. I hope you're not picking it up. But anyway, and he won't shut up. He wants to be on the show too, evidently.
Yeah, clearly he wants to have his moment of fame.
I know. But anyway, so I ended up going from here in Denver, went back to Ohio, and joined the service. And I went in first as a tank driver, then moved over to becoming a intelligence officer. And then with the unit I was with, they decided they needed an intelligence aviator, so I ended up becoming an aviator. I flew Blackhawks. I flew Kiowa Warrior. I also flew, the LUH-72, and I ended up towards the end of my career here flying the C-12, which is an airplane, not a helicopter, and it has all kinds of spooky tools on it for picking up information.
Wow.
And I flew that in Afghanistan with a great group of guys and gals with Task Force Odin. Plus, after that, ended up joining government service to do intel work and things like that within Washington, D.C. So, yeah, I have interesting career. And towards the latter part, I'm still in the Army, but I'm a reservist now, and I work with EUCOM, the European Command.
Yeah,
so I'm with them as an intel guy. So, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I just thought it was kind of
becoming old.
you and me both, my friend. Just thought it was kind of unique that today was 9/11. You and I happened to have a chance to talk, and I was reading your bio this morning, and I was like, man, that's pretty impressive. Like, you were a fireman, you were in the armed services. So, I mean, hats off to you, man. Thank you so much for your service. I really appreciate that from you.
No. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's dive into some of the things that we kind of want to connect and talk about, which is just music. It's one of my biggest loves in life. I know it's yours. You kind of grew up in a different way with your dad around music and everything, but talk to me about just John Paycheck and your music career and how you got started and why you decided to like walk in your dad's footsteps and get on the stage in front of people and do your thing.
Well, it was around the time, 2000, we've on this for 4 years. It was before COVID, just before COVID. And we were, me and a buddy of mine were talking about it. It was Shooter. And everybody was being real encouraging to, man, you ought to, if you miss it, you ought to come back. And what really kicked it all off was there was an outlaw exhibition event at Country Music Hall of Fame there in Nashville. And it's a museum. And I went there to that, and I just reconnected with everybody after, 10, 20 years or whatever. And that brought a lot of emotions and feelings back. And I did. I missed music. So, and I'd been writing a little bit, and I played a little bit here and there and set in places, but nothing big or nothing interesting really. Mm-hmm. But yeah, after that, we started. Me and my co-writer Scott Gabby started writing, and I'm gonna put an album out. Just kind of see what people think of it, right? If it's interesting, if people want to, follow along, maybe we'll keep doing this. And so we put the first one out. Then it turned into, okay, well, that went well. Maybe we'll do a 5-year project and see what happens now. and it's now we're going to close in on 5 years here after another couple, and it's like I think we're probably going to do another 5 after that. But yeah, it was really just missing music, missing connecting with other not entertainers but artists, mm-hmm. and being able to be creative in this way, in this fashion, right? And right. And I love art, I love music, so this is just it's just a great way to express yourself, to be able to, give something to people that you wouldn't, maybe other people can't, or do in a different way. But yeah, I like this, right? And it's really what it comes down to. It's just, I like it. Right. Now, as far as the touring and everything else, my kids are getting older. I've got 3 girls, and now is a better time to do it than it would have been back previously, because I didn't want to do kind of what my dad did, which was, focus so much on that kind of career where you're gone all the time. Granted, I was in the Army, but it was very different. I was able to coordinate things a little better, but not quite like my dad, right? So I was not away from home and away from my family as much, and I didn't want to do that to my kids. So now they're getting older. They don't want to be around dad. Just kidding. They still love me, but you know how teenagers can be.
Yeah, understandable.
So yeah, so yeah. Now I'm like, okay, now let's get on the road and see what we can do. And I love touring. I've always been kind of a gypsy at heart, and that was due to my mom and dad and the way we live. But yeah, I've always enjoyed going around different cities, and it's now I can go around different cities and give something to people, and they dig it, and yeah, it's fun. But and then the writing, that's a big part of me. I love writing songs. I like writing music as well. And
when it comes to when it comes to writing, like I feel like this has got to be a little different between the two of us, because I moved to Nashville when I was like 16 years old. And so I was very young when I went there. So my influences were like, Randy Travis, Travis Tritt, those guys, right? From music, country music. So those are the guys that I was kind of writing. My style was kind of around them. It was very storytelling. But the guys that you grew up around, like your dad and these other kind of country legend guys, like these guys had a storytelling kind of vibe, but it was just a little bit more like honky tonk, kind of rustic. Like, does your style pick up after that kind of generation from the 60s and 70s?
Nope.
Or are you kind of you're in the modern way here?
Well, not exactly what we can. You got to remember how old we are.
Yeah,
it's
that's
not modern
true.
now.
Yeah, I understand. So that 90s, 2000s country vibe is still in you too. Okay.
Yep. So I there of course is going to be some of that influence because it's unavoidable because I still listen to music from the 60s, 50s, 70s. I enjoy some of that, and it's also kind of a trip down memory lane for me because I hear that voice. That's something I told. Taking a side track here for a second, it's something I told a friend of mine recently. I was like, I'm lucky and fortunate that I can get on YouTube or something like that and see my dad. I don't have a bunch of home movies and things like that, but I got a lot of video out there of dad and I can hear his voice,
Right,
whenever
right.
I want. And it's a unique thing that, a lot of other people may not have for themselves when they lose a parent. Right. So yeah, it's an odd and unique thing I got there. Right. But, circling back. So that influence is there. It's not really in my my singing or my phrasing or things like that either, but it's there a little bit, and in my writing a little bit, especially like when things like I put a murder ballad on this current album. You don't hear too many people writing murder ballads.
Right.
They've made a slight comeback a little bit here recently, but not too much. But mainly my writing styles come from people like Dean Dillon. I love a lot of the George Strait music. You get a lot of writing influence from just a lot of the writers from that era, that 90s, 80s type era for me. And then my co-writer, he honestly picks up a lot more from the 60s and 70s than I do. And granted, I'm the real dreary and gloomy guy when it comes to writing music. I don't have a whole lot of happy songs that I write. Every once in a while one pops up. But my buddy Scott, he has more of the happy and fun, happy-go-lucky songs and partying at the bar type things.
Right. Yeah, no, it makes sense to me too. I mean, I kind of have an inspiration from a lot of different things in life, but my music taste was extremely different because I grew up in a world where, so I was, my mom was listening to the Commodores. My aunts and uncles that were younger were listening to AC/DC, Metallica, and like heavy metal. And then my grandmother's influence was all of the artists that you and I kind of grew up with, like your dad and Ricky Skaggs and all these kind of guys that like my grandmother introduced me to all that music. So when I went to Nashville, I had a wide variety of stuff like that I was kind of inspired by. And then when I started listening to country music, then when I got there in like 96, I guess, when I got there, I started listening to everybody and started attaching myself to specific styles, Brian White, Rascal Flatts, and those guys that kind of started coming out a little bit. And then I just took on that kind of like, oh, I think I'm like this romantic ballad love guy and I can just talk about love all day. And like, that's what I wrote about all the time. Right. But I never really had that, like, prop me up beside the jukebox kind of style in my music, but you do, because I listened to your new album that's coming out in November. And you have some very fun kind of like cool biscuits and gravy. Like what is this?
Man, that song.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, yeah, go into it, man. Cause I'm definitely excited about this stuff that's coming out by you in November.
Yeah, no, biscuits and gravy. I'll tell you that one. We, me and my buddy Scott were sitting back and we're just like, I love like Cracker Barrel and I love, their type of that home country type food and everything. And my wife cooks that type of food too. And I grew up with that. And I mean, boy, I tell you, biscuits and gravy. I love biscuits and gravy. Obviously, I write a song about it. But it was also kind of like, let's see if maybe a restaurant or somebody will pick up and like it. I don't know. But yeah, it was just a fun, campy type of song. And we ended up with my producer, Bill McDermott there in Nashville. I threw him the work tapes and everything, and I was like, I want to get like a Chet Atkins type of feel with the guitar in there. And I was doing a little bit of on the work tape, but I'm not a great guitarist. I'm a decent guitarist, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, yeah, I got just the guy. And man, when we went in the studio and worked it out, it turned out really fun. It was a fun song. So yeah, I'm glad you like it. It's surprising. A lot of people have really liked it. Yeah.
Yeah. I was doing some other work today while I was kind of preparing for us to connect today. And I was like, I'm just going to put the album on, listen to it, and we're just going to pick up on stuff. And I heard More Days Behind, which is the the title track. And then Biscuits and Gravy came on. I'm like, wait, this is the same guy? Like, did my playlist just switch? And then I had to come over and look at it. Like, oh, this is cool. Like, I like this kind of style, this fun kind of feel to everything. So, but I do want to talk about More Days Behind, because it is the title track. And man, every once in a while when I hear a song, it kind of gets me in my feels. And you and I probably are close in age. I'm going to be 45 at the end of the month. So
yep,
I feel like this More Days Behind song, like, just, man, it sat with me so heavy today, because I was like, yeah, like, I'm in this midlife crisis type of vibe right now in life, where I just want to live and explore and do all these things, because I feel like there's more days behind than there are ahead. And this line that you had in this song just hit me. So, talk to me about this title track, and like, you and Scott kind of co-wrote this thing, and how did this develop and break down?
Yeah. And this one, remember, like the more real and not quite happy songs are a lot of that is me. And then Scott does a lot of the happy stuff. And this, he made this a little bit more light for me, because it was dark at first and we ended up molding it. But yeah, it was just me. Oh, hold on. Was a car going by? It's loud. All right.
It's all good.
Sorry, I'm outside. I was trying to get away from everybody here. We're on tour. We're all in one room. But
yeah, no worries.
So out here in, I was writing this song, More Days Behind, and it was mainly just me kind of looking at where I'm at in life. Same type of thing, right? Midlife, kind of looking at the numbers, and I'm very analytical about things. So it's like, I'm more than halfway done here. I didn't really think about that. And it started to sink in a little bit. And I'm like, oh man, well, I mean, I guess it just is what it is. And it seems like it goes by in such a flash that it's like, wow, is the rest of this going to go that fast? It's like, I need to slow down for a minute here and breathe and kind of appreciate everything that I've got, everything I've accomplished, everything, my family, and then what do I want to do before, I can't do it, or before it's just done, right? Before I fade off into the sunset like Cowboys, right? So
right.
that was the inspiration and the thought process behind it. And then we got to writing with it, and there's a little, joking in there, with, hey, don't forget to bring the beer and everything. But it's really true. It's a matter of, you've got a limited amount of time on this planet. You should use it wisely. Try to be happy. Try to enjoy everything that you do have. Don't keep trying to chase whatever it is you think you need, but you may not need. And then enjoy the simple things. So here we are doing that. We're out here on the road trying to enjoy the simple things.
Yeah, and one thing at a time, right? And making sure you're kind of taking all that all in. I mean, it's one thing to kind of be on the road and have the hype of, like, meeting with the press and have all this action around you all the time because of your name and things like that. But like, at the end of the day, you got to appreciate the people that are showing up, the rain that happened on that day that made that cool story or whatever, like all the little kind of things that happen on tour and just kind of being in the moment, which just makes a whole lot of sense to me too. Like, I'm kind of going through the same thought process you are. So this song really, I mean, I added to my favorites. And so I'm going to make sure, yeah, man, it's one of my like top, I'm in my 40s and I'm kind of down. I'm going to listen to some John Paycheck today. And
yeah. But it is true. I mean, we got just a little bit of time here, right?
Yeah.
And why spend it commiserating over things? I did plenty of that in the past, and I'm like, man, I wasted so much time doing that.
Right.
I don't want to waste it now. So yeah, don't waste it, man.
Yeah, I'm definitely
Don't
not.
waste it.
I just got back from a 4-day stint in New York City, doing some events and stuff there. And, I want to get back to Nashville before the end of the year and really kind of tap into some old friends, networks down there and see what I can do and meet some people. So I wanted to kind of highlight some of the things that I saw on this, on your website and things too. Obviously, you're on tour right now, but you're kind of headed towards which direction? You're going out west now? What's the next show? Where are you going to be?
All right, this tour we've gone as far west as we're gonna go. We're in Denver right now,
Okay.
and we're gonna head to tomorrow. Today's our day off. Tomorrow we're going to Wichita, and we're gonna be at the Wichita Union Stockyards with the Giddy Up Gals. It's a social organization that they're gonna be out with us.
Okay.
I love that name, Giddy Up Gals.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, we're gonna be in Wichita, then we're going on to Lincoln, then we'll be in Des Moines. And then we head to, I believe it hit to Milwaukee then, and then Chicago. And then we're just working our way back to Virginia, which is where we'll end everything. And I think our last show is in Maryland. And that is towards the 27th, I think, of September, I think.
Yeah, so I think 24th of September, you're in Rochester, New York, which is close to me. You're only about an hour away, so that's probably when I'll show up for. And then Boston, Massachusetts after that, and then down to Maryland, like you said, at the Hopkins Farm Brewery on the 26th, of September. So, I was doing a little bit of research, man. I want to make sure we can let people know where they can see you live. Also, they can find you on social. I was, 40-year-old guy on TikTok. Like, can we just talk about, not even who you are, but just being a 40-year-old man on TikTok. We got to be friends on TikTok because we're both struggling with that.
Man, TikTok is ridiculous. And I honestly don't like doing a lot of video because it takes a lot of time, and it's like, oh man, it's like, why am I doing this? Well, it's because it's the only way to do outreach nowadays, and the only way really to do publicity if you're not, soaking tons of money into publicity in music as an independent artist. But
right.
Yeah, so TikTok's a great platform, man. It really is.
Yeah, I saw your TikTok today. I was watching some videos. You're definitely having fun over there, so it's definitely worth the peek for those listening. And then it's just John Paycheck on Facebook, on Instagram. The website is under John Paycheck. If you Google John, you can find him for sure. But man, I really appreciate your time today. I love connecting with other singer-songwriters. It makes me kind of remember my younger years, which obviously I'm in the press and I do other things these days. But man, Nashville's
you are not that old.
I know, man, but I feel
Don't
it's
think
so.
This way, man. We are not that old.
But I'm not running around the country like on a tour bus with my guitars and my band, and I probably should.
We're not in a tour bus this time either. We're in a truck.
You're in a truck. Oh,
yeah.
We call that incognito in the industry. Like no one knows who we are.
Well, this time around we decided it was an idea of just doing it like grassroots, like Dad did it in the very beginning.
Yeah, I love
so
it.
There's 4 of us in a pickup truck with a trailer.
Oh, I love it. I love it. That's so cool, man.
Anyway.
Well, I hope I see you in Rochester when you're in the neighborhood. I'll definitely look into that show and buy a ticket. But yeah, it was really great talking to you, man. Again, thanks for your service, military background. And I just appreciate and honor, like, the memory of your dad and that great music. And I'm so glad that you were inspired to kind of get out there and perform too, because your music is great. I hope you keep hitting it. And I'm kind of, as an independent artist too, obviously, I'm hoping that, the people of the world will start paying attention to some of this very traditional country that you're putting out there and kind of build that platform up, because clearly John Paycheck needs to get some recognition here. So.
I hope so too. And I appreciate people like you, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much. You have a wonderful day and be safe on that tour and have a good time.
Yes, sir. We will. Take care.
All right. See ya.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the show. Please take a minute to head over to www.savfair.com and subscribe to our publication.